Hi there, thanks for dropping by. My name is Bart, and a little over a year ago, I decided to sign up for Great Guitar Build Off 2021. I signed up for the scratch build category. Now, it wasn't the first scratch guitar that I built 3 prior to that, but this one last year would be different from the previous 3. Well, first, I started with a question. Why are most guitars about this size? Why not make them something like this size? Beyond that question, I faced some challenges. We were in the middle of a pandemic and I had no access to a workshop. I had to build right here in this room in the apartment in which we live. No workshop meant no access to some of the tools I used on my 3 previous scratch builds. So no random orbital sander, no bandsaw, no pillar drill, and even many of the other tools at the workshop. I had a plan on what I wanted to build, and I had a saw. So with that saw, I started doing a lot of hand sawing. And so we spent a lot of time early on in the build hand sawing, and then later on it was all shaping by hand as well. Along the way, I picked up a couple of other tools. I picked up a trim router and a jigsaw, but I didn't enjoy using that jigsaw, so all the sawing was still done by hand. One challenge I faced was with time. Working full-time and trying to put in 1 day of work on the build each weekend right here in this space, which is actually a shared space, meant having to squeeze in as many build hours as possible each weekend. Usually that meant about between 4 to 6 hours between February and June to try and meet the build deadline. In the end, I did manage to finish, but there were some things that I wish I could have done better, and I would have been able to. 1, if I'd had more time, or 2, if I'd had a proper workshop or more tools. This year, I decided to start planning earlier. So early in the year, in fact, I think it was even before New Year's Day, in the end of December, I started planning for the build. And I had everything drawn out. I was using Fusion 360 to try and figure out exactly how it would feel. I had the full plans done. I hadn't started working on templates, but I was waiting to start building, and I knew what I wanted to build. And the second critical thing is I discovered a workshop that I could pay to use on an occasional basis, so I would have access to some of the tools that I don't have access to at home, and that would definitely aid in my build. Then, early in February, something happened that changed my plans. The first week of February, my wife and I were shocked to hear, after an 8-year battle with cancer, that a dear friend had passed on. A little over a week after his funeral, a thought suddenly entered my head. Why am I building Great Guitar Build Off? And this was around the time that Ukraine was facing a huge challenge as well, and it's actually gotten much worse now. And so I thought, with war in Europe, is there even a point to Great Guitar Build Off? That very night, a different thought popped into my head, and it was, maybe Great Guitar Build Off is just a distraction I can use right now. And instead of building the guitar that I designed and planned to build, I thought, let's use my Great Guitar Build Off scratch build to build a tribute build to my friend Leslie. And so Leslie loved his cars and took great care of them. And one of the cars that he took great pride in was a 1991 BMW 502i, an E34. He bought it 20 years ago. He restored it to mint condition. He's taken great care of it. And all these years, his plan was one day when his son is old enough to drive, he'd want to hand it over to his son. Well, that's not going to happen any longer because he's no longer around and his son is only 8 years old, and the family have decided to sell the car because no one's around to take care of it for the next 10 years or so. So my plan for my Great Guitar Build-Off 2022 build is to take design inspiration from Leslie's E34. To build a guitar that's still a guitar, it will look like a guitar. Well, the inspiration will be clear, and I'm planning to call it the Les. I will share some of the details and the design in the next video, which I hope to release within the first week of April. Well, I'm going to be starting work on the neck blank next Monday using a table saw. It'll be the first time, so I've got to make sure I keep my fingers safe. Wish me luck there. If you're interested to find out how the build turns out, then go ahead and subscribe and come back for the build videos. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Have a good week.